I am proud and excited today. The Republicans revolted in the House of Representatives. They're in the minority, but they said, we will not take this lying down. We will not take Nancy Pelosi's tyranny lying down. We will not take these false high gasoline prices lying down. And while you Democrats vote to take a 5-week vacation, we insist on debating and voting. And it started out this way with Anthony Weiner of New York trying to gavel down the Republicans. Cut one, go.
The majority leader, what purpose do you
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Concurrent Resolution 398 and 110 Congress, I move that the House do now...
Question, Mr. Speaker, Parliament. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it.
I ask for a recorded vote.
Parliament. A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will arise a sufficient number having arisen. A recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This shall be a 15-minute vote.
I'm so proud of these guys and gals, you have no idea. And one of the leaders of this effort, who is a great leader in the House and a great conservative, is Congressman Mike Pence of Indiana. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, Mark. Great to have you in Washington this week. That speech you gave to House conservatives, I think, had a good effect.
Well, let me tell you something. I think, Congressman, this stuff was pent up. I think you guys have had enough. I think you want the American people to know about the tyranny that's going on in the House. You want to drive down the price of fuel, and that these folks won't let you do it. That's exactly right. You know, the Democrats had decided that rather than giving the House of Representatives an up or down vote on more drilling, even just in the Outer Continental Shelf, that they deserved a 5-week paid vacation. And so, House Republicans decided that look, we're just going to pile on, and we're going to go to the floor all the way to midnight if we have to, and take this case to the American people on the airwaves of C-SPAN and the floor of the Congress. But then along came that moment you just replayed, and that is they brought the adjournment resolution, cut off all debate. I had rounded up, Mark, 100 conservative members of Congress who were lined up to give 5-minute speeches on the floor of the House all the way up to the middle of the night. The Democrats cut that off, and a handful of us kind of looked at each other and said, well, the cameras might go off, the lights might go off, the microphone might go off, but they're not going to silence the voice of the American people in the people's house. And so we began what became a day-long demonstration on the floor of the House of Representatives. It was unprecedented, and we just one after another called on Speaker Pelosi to bring this Congress back and give us an up or down vote on more access to more American oil. I'm very excited about what you folks did today. I really am. I just want you to know it resonates with a big swath of the American public. It resonates with your base, and most of all, it's right. You're there to represent your constituency. Right. They may have a majority. You know as well as I do that there are Democrats who want to vote on some of these amendments, who want to lower the fuel prices. They don't all hail from San Francisco and Oakland, and they would like to have a vote too. And she's putting the iron grip on them, and she's squelching you guys, and then she has the gall to censor the whole thing by cutting off C-SPAN. I don't know that that's ever been done before.
Yeah, I got to tell you, well, just cut off the whole session of Congress. I mean, generally the way that I won't bore you with the details of your listeners all over the country, but generally what happens is you pass an adjournment resolution, and then, at the end of the day you finish legislative business, and then, members of Congress get down there and they give speeches, long ones and short ones and short ones and long ones, and then when everybody's done saying what they need to say, they move to adjourn, and all in favor say aye, and they leave. What they did here is they must have got downwind of the fact that we were going to raise a ruckus and have over 100 Republican members of Congress go to the floor and talk all the way till midnight about how unconscionable it is for Congress to take a 5-week paid vacation. I said over and over today, with a gallery full of everyday Americans and a floor full of everyday Americans that we let into the building, I said over and over today, I said, look, the American people aren't going to get, a vacation from high gasoline prices, and so Congress shouldn't be taking a 5-week paid vacation until we've given a chance for a pro-drilling majority in the House to work its will. And to your point, Mark, there's a reason I suspect why Speaker Nancy Pelosi has not allowed an up or down vote all summer long on the subject of drilling in the Outer Continental Shelf or the Gulf of Mexico or Alaska, and that's because that I truly believe for the first time in my 8 years in Congress that there is a bipartisan majority of Republicans and some Democrats who would vote to give the American people more access to American oil. And so Speaker Pelosi just said, no vote, no way, drop the gavel, we're out of town. And Republicans basically stage a protest debate on the floor of the Congress, and over 50 Republicans over the course of a half a day or more debate were on the floor battling away. And the ovations that came from the gallery, I got to tell you, Mark, it would have warmed your heart as much as it warmed mine. These are tourists. These are everyday Americans with their families who were on their feet again and again and again as we took that message of energy independence into the well of the Congress.
Listen, I think this is huge. I think this exposes the left on 100 different levels. It exposes the way they operate. It exposes their policy preferences. And it exposes once and for all that they do not stand for the little guy. Mike Pence, Shadegg, Garrett, all you folks, and I've only gotten started. There's many of you who are in the House and in the Senate, frankly, trying to drive down the price of fuel, trying to make this country independent from these terrorists and third world regimes who try to impose their will on us. You can't even get a vote. You can't even get an up or down vote, and the same thing's going on in the Senate.
Yeah, and there was a great metaphor. You and I have talked about my battle to prevent the fairness doctrine from coming back. No one's been a more clarion voice opposed to that than you. Somebody went to the floor today, a member of Congress, and said, he looked up at the gallery and he said, this is what they want to do to talk radio next year. They want to turn the microphones off. And he said, thank God for talk radio, because even though the C-SPAN cameras are off, the microphones are off, the lights are shut down, because of talk radio, and because, frankly, of a lot of people in the print media who sat in the gallery the whole time taking notes and filing stories, the American people didn't miss what happened today, and I'm just proud of every single member that went down there and made the fight, and we're gonna keep in the fight. I got to tell you, I love what you said. The high gasoline prices hurt working Americans the hardest. I mean, people just getting started with the American dream, and that Speaker Nancy Pelosi got on her twin-engine jet and headed to California. Everybody else is headed out to the congressional delegations, to exotic places. Doggone it, House Republicans said, we're going to the floor, we're battling, and if we're just talking to the Americans up in the gallery, that's going to be enough for us.
But think about Pelosi's mentality. She had to order those cameras shut down, the lights turned off. And I'll tell you something else that's amazing. If this is even covered in the New York Times or the Washington Post or any of these left-wing newspapers, you folks are going to be derided.
We got called morons today. That was a pretty high praise from a senior staffer for congressional leadership among the Democrats.
Well, they must be listening to this show, because I usually call them the morons.
I haven't called a moron for a while. I've been called a lot of stuff. We're down there debating whether the American people ought to have more access to American oil, and that passes for moronic in Washington D.C. I tell you, it just shows you how out of touch our nation's capital is with the needs of everyday Americans.
But the liberal media is trying to figure out whether to pretend this never happened or whether to trash you guys. But don't worry about them. I'm telling you, the American people are listening. Rush heard you, Sean heard you, I heard you, and we're going to keep giving you the kind of attention that you need when you guys do what you need to do.